Everyone, and welcome back to Don't Overthink It. I'm your host, Donny, and today we have a special guest with us.
Yo, I am Krew. I mainly kind of started off playing DMZ for the YouTube channel. That's kind of how it's been going for a little bit. Then I decided to, maybe give it a little bit of a break and then move over. I kind of been wanting to do a little bit of content sort of thing. So I did have a TikTok for a while, but I kind of stopped with that once Warzone went down. So the kind of thing I've been focusing on is boosting up the YouTube channel. That's kind of all I've been dedicated to content-wise for the moment.
Okay. You played Warzone and DMZ. Is that all you play now?
Not at all. Because if that's how it was going, I think I'd probably go insane. It mostly depends on kind of what mood I'm in. I don't typically play a lot of multiplayer games in my spare time unless someone asks me to. Typically, I'll play a lot of story games. I got Skyrim installed, plenty of the Fallout games. I got Red Dead 2, just stuff like that to kind of keep myself entertained for a little bit. Most of the time I even just focus on straight watching YouTube videos or messing with a little bit of my Streamlabs just to try to improve the stream. But Call of Duty and Warzone especially, I've kind of been taking a bit of a step back from that.
I hear a lot of people saying that the cheaters in Call of Duty have gotten worse. What's your take on that? Do you agree with that?
Cheating has kind of been something that I've always kind of dealt with in my later years of Call of Duty. MW 2019, when Warzone first kicked off during the isolation and whatnot, everybody was playing it. So I think that's whenever I really noticed a spike in cheaters. And then since then, I don't think I've seen an effort to try to lower that number by any means on Call of Duty's part. I know they got their Activision anti-cheat. I think it's Ricochet. But even seeing that, it doesn't work. So I definitely do think that the cheating problem is skyrocketed with recent years.
You mentioned you play storyline games like Skyrim and stuff like that. How does that compare to the first-person shooter games? Obviously, they're different. One's a storyline game, and then one's a first-person shooter. The difference between the two are completely night and day. I played a lot more of like Halo and stuff. How would you compare that to first-person? Because I guess some people might consider Halo a semi-first-person shooter because you have that first-person point of view, you have the third-person point of view sometimes. How would you compare those to, like, an actual first-person shooter? Like, what's the difference between those two, and how if somebody, other than it being on the label?
Well, I think when it comes down to Halo, especially when it comes down to the older games, I think it's Halo Infinite that's kind of the more recent one. I played a little bit of that and I enjoyed it. But I definitely do think that Halo as a franchise, like altogether, was probably one of the most perfect mixes of multiplayer first-person shooters and storyline, because a lot of it comes down to how they did the story versus how they also did the multiplayer. Because if I remember correctly, this is a little bit past my time, but Halo was kind of like one of the bigger first-person shooters before, anything really popped, like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Halo was kind of that building block for first-person shooters and just multiplayer first-person shooters in general.
Yeah, it kind of was, but there was you had the old Nintendo 64 007 stuff. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, if that's probably before your time too. So we talk about certain games and companies not having a good set of anti-cheats. What do you think the reasoning for not having a good anti-cheat and allowing players to continuously, openly talk about and show the cheating in certain games. Do you think that? Go ahead.
I think when it comes down to companies that don't do a lot for the anti-cheats, I think it has the main problem with it is money. Because everybody, especially now in gaming industries, are very stingy and try to just penny pinch as much as they can because, you know, there's not really a certain regulation that you need to keep up. It's a little bit different compared to like safety equipment where you need to spend that money so it's up to code and it doesn't actually cause any deaths and make your name look bad. That's a completely different end of the line there when it comes down to video gaming. You don't really have that bar, especially if you've already made it to like the AAA gaming status as Activision has already done. And I think they don't necessarily care a whole lot about how their game actually plays. Now, do I think they'll throw out a game where most people can't just play it in general? Maybe not. I think they'll actually polish it a little bit better. But when it comes down to it, if everything goes down, servers go down and everything, the one thing you can bet that will always be open is the Call of Duty store because they want as much of your money as humanly possible.
So you think that's all it is just, you know. So when a contractor goes and puts in for a job, they usually put in what they call a bid, right? And then the job goes to the lowest bidder. Do you think that's what they do with the anti-cheat?
I would probably say that I've heard a lot of people in our close friend groups and even bigger streamers say that they watch people get banned on stream, and I've ran into plenty of cheaters, and I don't think I've ever actually been able to do that when it comes down to reporting. I think that with their anti-cheat, it's a very loose one, and I'm also pretty sure their code just got exposed within like the first week of them announcing that. So if they have a very weak anti-cheat system paired along with really weak servers. So I just think it's kind of overall a complete mess of just amalgamation of code trying to hope the problem goes away.
So with that said, with what you just said, I was able to get 3 guys banned last week, and it was pretty interesting. A lot of them had the underbarrel glitch. I guess that's a thing nowadays. But yeah, I got 3 different people banned last week, and you know, it kind of was like, is it really necessary to do that? Because they're just gonna make accounts and come back, and you know, they're gonna hit the next person with the same thing that they just did to me. You know, they're gonna create a new account, they're gonna come back in, put the cheats back in, and whatever. So is it? In my opinion, it kind of seems like it's an unnecessary thing to do because it's just gonna happen again and again and again. And a lot of other people seem that way. I've watched a couple streamers like, oh well, it's pointless to report them because it doesn't do anything. I was like, well, I reported this guy like four times, and you know, he got banned after 4 reports. You know, or even one of them took one person, and it only took me 1 time to report him, and he got banned. He got kicked.
There you go.
On the bottom of the left side of the screen, it said Ricochet. And I was like, cool, he's gone. So, you know, like I said, he's just probably going to come back with a new account, you know, take it out on some poor little measly player. So do you think it would be worth it to try and get somebody banned for that? I mean, some people might not care and, you know, just move on to a different game and a new account.
I mean, the way that I kind of look at it is, for what I know about cheats, is a lot of the ones that are actually really good are subscription-based platforms. So a lot of them, you're paying like $10, $20 a month to be able to do this. So in my eyes, I think banning them, of course, if you automatically know a dude's cheating, you can just report him and spam report him and then get him ricocheted. And then I think the most it'll do is inconvenience them, maybe annoy them and make them a little angry because they have to go through the effort of making a whole separate account, which I don't know. Maybe means they have to make an entirely new email. I'm not really sure how they would do that, but a lot of the issue is everybody's just reporting everybody now, man. So it's just like almost like a paranoia kind of going around. I mean, sometimes I'm guilty of it too, man. I'll get shot and killed really fast, and I'm over here questioning if this dude's good or if this dude's cheating. And then on top of that, sometimes you can't even rely on the kill cams because they're like buggy, and half the time it just looks like they're running a slideshow. So when it comes down to reporting them, I think it's just almost like a natural reflex for most players now to just kind of report anybody, even if they know they're not cheating. It's just out of pure spite to just report that player. Just hope
because they lost the gunfight and they're dead now. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's just natural reflex for most people nowadays. So I think I don't really think there's a whole lot we can do about the cheaters unless they implemented some sort of like IP ban or address ban or something like that, to where they wouldn't be able to get back onto that system. But other than that, it's more of kind of like a satisfactory feeling for you for the moment and an inconvenience to whoever's cheating.
So now that you said that, the IP ban and stuff like that, I heard that certain gaming companies do that. They have so now I don't want to say this and be wrong with it, so I'm not going to throw any company's name out there, but I heard one of the more common popular games out there, their anti-cheat does that. Their anti-cheat bans their IP address, it bans all their other stuff from it. So they have to actually use a whole new system. Like they have to, let's say they get banned from a PC, they have to go get a whole new PC because that IP address is connected to that PC. They can no longer use that PC. I hear a lot of there's one game specifically that does that. Don't know if it's true or not. I've never actually witnessed it myself. But do you think to keep the gaming, and they have a fairly good name. A lot of people don't like this game because it's kind of childish and stuff. A lot of people think it's too cartoony. So, I mean, I've heard of that company, that gaming company do that with banning IP addresses and stuff. So do you think that would be the next step to go for games to be successful?
Absolutely. I think a solid anti-cheat, along with them implementing a IP ban, would take it going from being a nuisance that you have to create a new email, a new account, to, okay, I'm banned now. I can no longer play this game unless I spend another $1,000 on a completely new system. That would be a major step forward, and granted, people would probably still cheat, and then they would probably try to find ways to sneak around it, but they still run that risk of even being caught doing very mediocre cheats, like a Cronus or something like that, something that doesn't necessarily give you aimbot or anything like that, maybe just alleviates a little bit of recoil, can get you permanently kicked off of that game that you spent money on. So I think that's kind of that right there is a good fear tactic that should definitely be used with a lot more of these bigger companies.
And it would take time for people to figure out how to get around something like that too. I know I was talking with Capybara not too long ago on here, and he mentioned something, and I brought something up to him, and he mentioned something about Battlefield 6, the new Battlefield that just came out. They actually stopped 300,000 plus cheaters from going into their lobbies. Just within like the first 2 days, 2-3 days, they stopped them. From my understanding, their anti-cheat system, if it recognized any kind of unrecognizable, commonly used software or devices, it wouldn't let them in the lobby. I mean that sounds like it's a step up from what we play with. I mean, to stop 300,000+ cheaters from going into the lobbies, that's a big step in a positive gaming direction.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think a lot of companies should adapt to that, because certain companies are just here for the money. We all know that. They just want their millions or billions or trillions, whatever you want to call it, and then move on with their life and stuff. So I think that's a step that certain companies should head in that direction.
I agree with that.
So let's talk about your gameplay a little bit. I've played with you recently. You just added me as a friend after we've known each other for months. It's kind of rude. But so I hear a lot of things watching your stream and listening to your comms on in the game. A lot of people call you a cheater. How do you get around that? How do you keep from letting that get to you and under your skin? Because obviously you're not cheating. People who watch you know you're not cheating. The people you play with know you're not cheating. How do you let that affect you? Do you let it affect you at all? Does it not affect you? Do you just not even care?
Most of the time it's just a straight ego boost. I mean, it's like, especially if it comes down to a crazy kill, then like that adrenaline rush that you have when your other two teammates are down and it's only you up, and then you solo wipe a 3-4 man, and then one of them or two of them are accusing you of cheating because you just completely wiped them. That is probably like one of the best feelings you can get nowadays in DMZ. When it comes down to just like a little solo hiding in a corner and you just ran in on him and hit him with a knife, and then it's some like 40-year-old dude being like, "Nah, you're cheating." It's a little bit different. I usually just kind of like to troll him a little bit. Just be like, "Oh yeah, dude, my $20 a month are really going to something good," and then just run around. Usually they call me words that you can't really repeat on any sort of platform, and then they just leave and probably report me. I'm more surprised I haven't been banned or shadow bans at all throughout my whole COD career.
So that was going to be my next question. Have you ever been shadow banned or had any account in history banned? But you kind of just answered that.
I mean, like, when it comes down to shadow banning it, you don't really know it. You kind of just have to play lobbies and then experience it from there. Because shadow banning is like getting into cheater lobbies and sweaty lobbies. So you're not kind of, because even though in most of the games, Call of Duty wise that I play, I'll have a bit of an above average KD. I'll still kind of run into people that are more casual. But whenever you're loading into a game and then almost everybody there is really good at the game, and then you get sniped across the map, and then the dude's level 10 and his name is You Suck, and then he's over here running around with a Iron Sight Car 98 360ing people out of the air, that's when you're like, all right, maybe I should put the controller down for the day. Maybe today's not the day.
Today's not the day. So you play with a bunch of people. We've had a couple of other people that you've played with on here. We've had Lake 7 on here. We've had you play with him a lot. He's a good guy. He plays a lot. He doesn't do a whole lot of streaming anymore from what I've seen.
Oh yeah.
What's it like playing with like other streamers and stuff? Like I know a lot of people get off on playing with other streamers and stuff, and that's the only reason some people want to play. Like, oh, he's streaming, I want to play, I want to get my 15 minutes of fame. You don't seem to be that kind of a person.
Well, I think the beauty about it is, the first person I ever met that kind of introduced me to the friend group was Goofy. This is before he was streaming, so me and him had the time to eventually actually become really good friends, and it was the same thing with Legs. I believe Legs was still streaming at that point, but me and him just kind of grew close because we played together on and off stream and constantly. And then after a while, it just kind of became the norm. Most of the time I was playing with at least one other person that was streaming, maybe two. And I was usually the only guy that wouldn't be streaming, so I just kind of got used to it and enjoyed it. And that's just kind of all it is to me. Is streaming is much about entertainment. It's not about it. I think it's kind of a mixture of both, especially when it comes to Call of Duty. You need to because I think it's about being somewhat decent if you have those skills to show off, add a little bit of flair, but you need to also be able to keep people in chat, be able to keep whoever you're playing with entertained, and I think that's just a very important thing to learn. I don't disagree that a lot of people try to come in for fame. I've never personally, off the top of my head, I don't remember anybody coming up and be like, yo, it's Krew. But, I've had plenty of people when I was playing with Goofy, or maybe even playing with Legs. I mean, we killed a dude whose name was like Lieutenant Legs or something like that, or like Leg 7 or something like that. We're like, yo, we killed you, and Legs is like, I'm at work, man. So we had an imposter running around for a good little bit till we figured out who it was.
I personally don't playing live on stream. I get nervous. I get like stage fright or whatever, and I think that's where a lot of my my nervousness comes from. And so if you see what I've done, I can go into Ashika. People are like, oh, you can't go into Ashika, it's sweaty, you'll die right off the rip, whatever. I go into Ashika and I can kill a team while my teammates are down, or even up, whatever. I'll go and kill a team, move on to the next team, kill those guys, and move on and keep going. Off stream, get me on stream while I'm playing with somebody who's live, I get those nerves. And it's like playing with people. It's like, okay, so now he's live. There's a couple hundred of people watching me. Not me specifically, but they know I'm on his team and stuff. So I get nervous. So I try to avoid playing with people that are streaming live. Only for the fact is I know I can do better when I'm not in front of the camera, type thing. So, I think that's part of the reason why I haven't started or I haven't continued. I got everything set up to do it. I got the capture card, I got the chat link, I got everything for Xbox and stuff running through my PC. But I think that's just part of it, is not being able to go under that pressure. And people are like, don't worry about how you play. It's more about entertaining your crowd, like you said, staying in communication with chat and stuff. And it's easier said than done. I hear like Irish. Irish says it's a lot harder to talk with chat and play the game when you're in a clutch situation, And you see people like Lando who make it look so easy. He's sitting there talking to chat while he's wiping platoons and stuff, and they just make it look so easy. And then some of them are like, no, it's the hardest thing. It's pretty hard to do and stuff. So, I guess it's got its pros and cons to a lot of it.
I definitely, when it comes down to streaming, I rarely find myself in situations where I kind of have to stop talking and lock in, besides DMZ. Because I don't, when it comes down to competitive, well, I lied, Delta Force too. Delta Force, I have to especially stop talking whenever I'm trying to sweat on that. But when it comes down to DMZ, it can be very easy to forget entirely that there's like a chat of people talking to you and that there's people watching, because you're in a situation where you're got a 1v3, 1v4, so you're kind of you're worried about working in a team. And then I think chat understands that. In those dire moments, I'll very much stop talking. I'll kind of just completely blank out and then just stay completely tunnel visioned on the game, where even like the outside of my room or whatever's going on, and nothing exists to me. I'm solely focused on killing that. And then I kill like 2 of them, get hit with a one-shot or RGL, and then I like blink a couple times, I'm back into the chat. I think that's the important part, because a lot of people understand it. I don't think I've come across anybody that's been angry that you don't lock in, or that you're locked in, you don't talk to chat. But when it comes down to being nervous, I was the same way. Whenever Goofy started streaming and we were playing, and then Leg was streaming and we started playing, it was a constant kind of anxiety, especially whenever both of them would die. I would always be going off and trying to make myself look cool and whatnot. But now it's coming down to whenever I stream, I don't really get that nervous. I think I still occasionally get a little bit of the jitters if I'm like solo fighting in a Sheikah and I know they got one shots. But I think what it comes down to is knowing that you're always going to die in DMZ. It's just kind of a given. And it's just about being able to make that death entertaining and not, slam. I mean, maybe some people find it funny if you like slam your fist on the desk and throw your controller against the wall, break the 4th one for the week. But some people that can't afford to consistently do that, such as myself, is you just got to find a way to make that death entertaining and move on.
Yeah, so So what is some of your tricks to your trade? Like, how do you make it look so easy compared to the way other people play? I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people have more gaming experience than you. Obviously, a lot of people have more Call of Duty experience than you, but you make it look so easy playing it. How does it?
Well, when it comes down to, I think I was playing COD from a pretty early age. Like Black Ops 2, I think was my first COD ever. I don't even think I played online multiplayer because I was still like a kind of like a little kid. I think like 5 or 6 maybe. And then from then, it didn't really hit me until Black Ops 4. I'm always saying this on stream, and I will say it till I die. Black Ops 4 is still my favorite Call of Duty. That was whenever I was watching a dude play, and he was actually really good at the game, and it kind of like sparked something in me. I was like, I think that'd be really cool to be able to be like top of the leaderboard almost every time you play, stuff like that. So I just kept playing, and then Modern Warfare 2019 came out. You know, Search and Destroy was really big again, and so I kept playing that, and eventually I got good. But I think what really made the game changer for me was when I got my SCUF controller. It really does help with the movement, and it is very expensive, so I don't I'm a little iffy when it comes down to recommending it, because I don't think people have to have a $230 controller to just be able to be somewhat decent at the game. That was a mistake that I actually made. Was I didn't have a SCUF controller. I bought like an off-brand one that had a couple back buttons for like $10 at Walmart, and I played with it, and I was like, man, I'm not really doing what I'm seeing like, you know, the like huge guys in like FaZe and 100 Thieves are doing in Warzone. But I think what it really comes down to is being able to find your flow state with it. Being able to perfect your settings to where you have enough speed to turn around if you're getting shot in the back, but also, you know, not completely whiff every single shot. Being able to understand when to take fights, when to not take fights. Trigger discipline is a very important thing as well. Being able to outmove people. I mean, there's been plenty of times that I've been able to escape one-shot shotguns and only take like 3 pellets to the chest that really do hurt me but don't kill me, and then hit them with a knife and then put them down. Always shocks them too. It's always like some of the greatest reactions you'll get is when you knife a one-shotter. But I think what it comes down to is being able to add your own personalization to how you play is kind of how it makes you more comfortable doing more risky things. Because if you're playing really uncomfortable, you're playing on a really high sensitivity you haven't played with, you're using guns you never played with, you're playing with people you never played with, you're kind of obviously going to be a bit more on edge. Which, you know, being on edge in Call of Duty just means you're gonna have a bit of a bad time. But as long as you keep it to your personal levels and you're able to just enjoy that, you know, it's pretty easy to just enter a bit of a flow state and just kind of go off and not really worry too much about anything.
So I kind of like to do something similar to that. I guess my level of comfort would be when I am running with. I like running with randoms a lot. Running with randoms a lot, and I say this a lot of the times. I think I may have said it to you once or twice. But running with randoms makes me play better than what I normally am, because I have to survive with randoms. Because I don't know if they're going to switch teams, if they've already got something set up with another team to go, you know, be a pre-made. Mm-hmm. So I have to play as if I'm playing. Obviously, I'm playing to survive, but I have to play at my best because I don't know what that random's going to do. I don't know if that random has a mic. I don't know what that random's communication's like. You know, I don't know what they got going on in their background. If there's noise, they got the kids around. So I always play with randoms where I have to play at my best, and I think that's where I kind of lock in, and that's the comfort level that I have going in with them, and then being able to get a team wipe with them is my comfort level. Being able to, you know, I'm with randoms. I gotta hurry up and push these guys and get them taken out before they can come and get an opportunity to kill us. You know, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work that way. The other 2% or the 20%, it does. work that way, so the odds are not really the greatest, but then there's still odds there that are there to in my favor, the 20%. Now you talk about weapons and stuff, and I say this a lot to a lot of people who are like, oh, this isn't my build. What kind of build is this? This is a crappy build. Well, guess what? The player doesn't make the gun. The gun doesn't make the player. The player makes the gun. So if you're, and I got used to using ground loot all the time. I mean, if you look at the guns I use, they're all contraband guns. They're all guns that I picked up from other players, and I use those ones, and I go in and I play those. So if I have to pick up a bot gun, I already know what to expect from it, and I can go in and get it. There's a lot of times where the videos that I created have I'm using bot guns, I'm using, like I said, contraband guns, and I have adapted to being able to use that. So if I do have to use it, I know the recoil, I know this, I know where I'm supposed to aim. Snipers, the sniper rifles that I pick up, if it's got armor piercing or explosive rounds, I already have it adjusted in my mind, saying, this is where I need to aim and stuff. So it's kind of being able to adapt with what's around you and your comfort level. A lot of people are too comfortable in being and in using their own builds, like, oh, I can't use this gun, or I died because I had a bot gun. Guess what? I died and I have a bot gun. I killed that whole entire platoon and I had a bot gun.
Yeah.
So that comfort level is there. It's just like what you were saying. How do you feel about that? Can you pick up a bot gun and then play, or do you have to have your build?
Oh no, I do it all the time. I mean, that's probably one of the things that I do that might be a little bit more unique towards my streams versus a lot of other people's, is I use a little bit more of the nicher guns in Call of Duty DMZ. Like I'll be rocking the LMS or the TAC-M, or some of like the LABs, sniper, the marksman categories. And you don't really see people using those unless they just pick it up off the ground, or cheaters got a TAC-M and just beams you from across the map. But I think when it comes down to the actual bot guns, I think it shifts a lot during the maps. Like whenever I play Al-Mazrah and let's say I'm just dirt poor, I don't have any more contraband, all 3 of my insured are just gone, and I pick up that stupid AK-74U build with a 20-round magazine and no stock, I will immediately run over to the nearest buy station to just delete those attachments. But then there's other guns like the Vaznev that they drop where it's only got no stock, but everything else is normal on it. I love using that thing. I think it's probably the best close range ground loot gun you can find, besides, getting lucky with your RNG loot in those little military crates and whatnot. But I do definitely agree that I think if you reach a certain level of skill, it's not about what gun you're using, it's about just how you understand the gun's capabilities. Like, am I going to use a base Lockman Shroud to attack somebody? Like, say we're both on the Inashika and we're on the complete opposite sides of the apartment buildings. Am I going to try to fight that dude from that side of the building with a Lockman Shroud or Lockman Sub? Absolutely not. I know the capabilities of that gun. But if you got like a TAC V or a TAC 56 or anything like that, even though if you don't have like prime attachments to be able to make that thing a straight laser beam, you're still able to hit those shots because you know how to use the gun. And with DMZ even being out for like almost 3 years, I think now, off the top of my head, like I think most players that play it now know how the gun performs, so they know kind of off the top of their head how the recoil controls, how good damage it is, up close versus where its fall off is. But I do definitely think that a lot of people rely a little bit too much on their builds, especially when I kill some little man and he's got a Vel build with the heaviest barrel, a 60 round drum, and a thermal on his gun. It definitely puts me off a little bit, makes me lose a little bit of faith in humanity as I crawl up the stairs to change the build. But it's I do think that it should be kind of enforced that you should add whatever you want. Like if some big YouTuber is like, this is the prime meta build for the Bass P, and it's like, all right, cool, but I like the way it feels with this stock rather than this stock, then just use that stock. It's like it's all about personal preference and enjoying.
Yeah, personal preference is, and like you said, a lot of people rely on what they've built and stuff. Honestly, I don't care what I use. Give me a throwing knife. I've gotten into Vandal with just knives only, a combat knife and throwing knives, and that's how I started training with my throwing knife.
Yeah.
Is going into Vandal with just that and throwing knives. Didn't last very long, but yeah, that's how I did it. But so, along with Vandal, along with Delta Force, you play those games. You played previous games, storyline games. Saw you play a little bit of Tarkov. What's the difference between Tarkov and Delta Force? They're really they're really similar. A lot of differences, a lot of similarities. What's your outtake on that?
I think when it comes down to it, Tarkov is very less movement based. Obviously, you got some absolute monsters out there that'll pop some sort of stim that prevents damage for like 25 seconds and then do like a 360 and kill a dude or something like that. But Tarkov is kind of leaning more towards a realistic shooter where it's more about keeping your stealth and just being able to hit shots while making smart maneuvers, versus Delta Force where you have a little bit of that, but you also kind of got like the Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4 operators with their own special abilities, and you just have your movement that you kind of got to be able to do, as well as just being able to try to aim in general, because Delta Force aiming, I think in my opinion, is a lot harder than Tarkov, especially because there's weapon tuning in it, which I personally don't like. I don't really enjoy things like weapon tuning, especially in DMZ, because I feel like it just adds another layer of complexity that I don't think is very much needed. But Tarkov is you slap an attachment on and you just hope that it works with your gun. Delta Force is that way, but you gotta also hope that the tunings you put on your gun doesn't make it to where you shoot 3 bullets and you're already looking up towards the ceiling.
I did not know you could tune on Delta Force.
Yeah, certain attachments, like your optic, you're able to change how zoomed in it is. Your buttstock, you're able to tune how spread out that is, how much it weighs, and things like that will just affect your ADS or how much recoil control you have. It's very complicated, and then trying to watch people build their own guns and then use tunings on it, they'll put it like halfway but then like tune it up a couple more points and be like, you need this really weird point so you can get the perfect balance of ADS and recoil. I'm just gonna put it all the way up, dude. I'm not really in the mood to worry about making sure I'm perfectly balanced. I'm just gonna throw this thing all the way up to ADS or all the way up to recoil.
Which one would you say is a harder game, Tarkov or Delta Force? I know you said that the aiming could be different. Obviously, aiming changes a lot of different things in a lot of different games. But which one, when it comes down to it, basic simple weapons or basic base simple weapons, which one do you think is harder, Delta Force or Tarkov?
I would probably say Tarkov, because there's no sort of skill based, which I also believe there's not for Delta Force, at least in my experience. There's no sort of way to limit how much gear a person brings in. Delta Force Easy is very beginner friendly, because you're not running into a dude who's rocking complete gold armor with gold ammo and a 500k scar. Versus in Tarkov, you could be running a beginner's ground zero map and you run into a dude with a level 6 armored helmet, level 6 armor, huge bag, and a really expensive gun with really good ammo, and he just puts you down and you've got like little baby stuff. So I think, especially now with the hardcore wipe, a lot of things were very difficult. They increased prices with traders, made it to where you can only go to certain zones if you do a I can't remember the word off the top of my head. I think it's like going from one map to another without going back to the lobby. doing that to where only certain maps can be reached by doing that. They're definitely trying to make the game a little bit more difficult for people to play it. While Delta Force, I think, is actually doing a very good job at balancing keeping their really sweaty players in normal mode on most maps or Space City versus trying to keep their more casual, maybe a little bit more skittish players on easy mode for those maps.
Okay. We just got a couple more minutes here. Got a question for you. Very important question for you. Something Absolutely. That, maybe a lot of people want to hear your opinion on it. Very important question. Tacos or pizza? Okay, tacos or pizza, and what are you gonna have to drink with it?
I have to say a solid like Pizza Hut slice with. Oh man, I gotta set up a scenario for this. Yes, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. There's this place that we usually go to that has amazing street tacos. But in my opinion, a really good slice of pizza very much outranks a very good little plate of tacos.
Okay, so let me set up a scenario for you. Friday night, you're home, your parents gone out on a date or whatever. They're out of the house, just you. You have an option between pizza, tacos, and your favorite drink. What do you pick? You're sitting down to play the game. Pizza, tacos, and your drink. Which one are you gonna pick?
I'm taking a good 2 slices of pizza along with, oh man, my favorite drink. I think a nice cold Dr. Pepper. I'm just saying, nice cold Dr. Pepper.
You're fired.
I just a nice cold Dr. Pepper does it. Aren't you the Pepsi man?
The Pepsi man, yes. It's gotta be. I'd have to pick tacos, some really good tacos, and a nice cold Pepsi.
Oh, gross.
That is my thing. Pepsi right there. Right there, I'm good. Kids are in bed. Wife's doing her own thing. I'm sitting down. Tacos and a Pepsi. That's it. Maybe ice cream and a brownie. Ice cream and brownie too.
Oh man, we're adding dessert to it too.
Yep. What's your go-to dessert?
I think I'm a very big sucker when it comes down to pies. I'm very big. This is such a hard question because it depends on the season. If it's like a good fall season, a nice warm pumpkin pie when it's like not cold outside but chilly, like 60s, little 50s, a solid slice of apple pie with a little bit of vanilla ice cream is probably perfect. But then you got
throw some Cool Whip on top of that.
Oh yeah, a little bit of Cool Whip. I mean, you got things like pumpkin pie, pecan pie, some of the other fruit-based pies. I don't know. I've always been more of a pie guy than kind of a cake guy, because every cake I've had has been, I think if you hand make them, cake can be really good. But I think store-bought most of the time they've been sitting there. They're really kind of just like overly soggy. But a good like cheesecake or something like that from a like Cheesecake Factory, I think that could probably top a lot of pies.
Probably not a cheesecake. I wouldn't go to cheesecake.
You wouldn't go to cheesecake?
I'm lactose, so I wouldn't be. It wouldn't sit well with me very long.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair argument.
As we come to the final minutes of our conversation, do you have any kind of like inspirational quote? Any kind of like food for thought kind of thing for any of our listeners out there?
I think when it comes to just about anything, as a lot of people are kind of focused a lot of on the negatives on certain things, and for a good long time that I was as well, I was focused on a lot of negatives. I think the best way to kind of look at it is something bad happens today, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I live by that a lot, is because it's a very big personal quote. You can add whatever you want to, it's like I had a horrible run of DMZ today, or I failed a test today at school, or I had a horrible day at work today, but I have no idea what tomorrow's going to look like. And that mentality, I think, is a very helpful way to get people out of thinking that they're just stuck in a cycle, especially because it's a very true statement. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow could be a significantly better day for you. Something as simple as somebody walking by and complimenting your appearance, or complimenting your car, or complimenting something about you, would automatically just make that day better than the day before. And I think that's kind of the whole plan, is to try to keep a positive attitude with it and just enjoy life, because it is a very precious and sacred thing that out of trillions of odds, you are here, and you should be allowed to enjoy that.
Words coming from a young man. Very knowledgeable. Agree with it.
Absolutely. It's all about positive. PMA, baby.
Yeah, stay positive. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude our session today. We'd like to thank Krew for coming in and talking with us today. We talked a little bit about a couple games today, but we focused on gaming, which is okay, which is all right. We tend to talk about a little bit of everything usually, but today we focused on gaming, introducing Krew to the community now. So
absolutely, it was great
talking with you, Krew.
Absolutely, I appreciate y'all bringing me on here. It was very much fun to add my own little personal opinions to this.
Yeah, and a lot of people watch this. I mean, well, not a lot of people, but some people watch it, and they take a lot of it with them when they leave after listening to it. But it was a pleasure having you in today. And remember, whatever you guys do, wherever you guys go, stay safe. Don't overthink it. We'll see you next time.